The truth about Tesla Mad Max mode. There have been many headlines about Tesla's new Mad Max mode, but many of those writing about the dangerous and controversial mode have probably never used it. As a writer, I write about topics I do not have first-hand experience with, but the job requires me to take a fair stance and report what is known. The problem is the nature of driving and driving modes, specifically, is subjective. Some people might see Mad Max as an extension of their daily driving. For me, I did not see it that way. I saw it as a useful tool for certain situations, but it was certainly not something I could compare to my personal driving style. But that does not mean that it's wrong. NHTSA probes Tesla. Over Mad Max last week, the NHTSA launched a bit of a probe into Mad Max mode, requesting additional information on the speed profile, and reiterating that the driver of the car is still required to be in ultimate control. Tesla Mad Max gets its first bit of regulatory attention. It's important to keep the latter portion of that sentence in mind for the true thesis of this piece. Now, it is no surprise to me that Mad Max garnered attention from regulatory agencies, as it is definitely a more spirited driving profile than the others. Is Mad Max that big of a deal? Regulatory agencies are responsible for keeping people safe, and it is important to note that their control is somewhat necessary. However, this type of drive mode is optional, requires the driver's attention, and should be used responsibly for safe travel. Playing devil's advocate, how is Mad Max any different than the performance modes that some sports cars have? Because they require the driver to operate fully, and they are not semi-autonomous like Tesla can offer with Mad Max in full self-driving supervised, are they safer? The argument here really comes down to whether FSD is being used responsibly. And correctly, any accelerated drive mode becomes more of a risk if the vehicle operator is not paying attention. This applies to any car company or drive mode they choose to use on their cars. My personal experience with Mad Maxi have used Mad Max probably 10 times since it rolled out to Early Access Program EAP members a few weeks ago. I'll admit, it did a lot of things I would never do driving a car manually. It passed people on the right. It was the fastest vehicle on the interstate, at least until I crossed into Maryland. Then, it seemed to be just another car on the road. Tesla Mad Max testing on FSD v14.1.2. It drives like a human being. Consistent lane changes, keeps up with quicker traffic, very refined. It drove quickly, and not so fast that I felt concerned for my safety, which I never feared for, but fast enough that at certain points, I was concerned that a cop would pull me over. I never encountered that scenario, but I wouldn't be surprised if it resulted in some tickets. With that being said, I don't particularly think I'd use Mad Max in more than a handful of applications. Driving the Baltimore Beltway would be one instance, navigating traffic in Baltimore, Philadelphia, or Pittsburgh during heavy traffic, or cruising on I-95, where cars routinely are going 100 miles per hour, much faster than Mad Max would ever travel. Is it too quick for me in residential settings? For me, yes. Is it faster than every human driving on those roads? Absolutely not. In my experience, it is quicker than some, slower than others, just like any other speed mode Tesla offers. Even Sloth, which refuses to go over the posted speed limit. I think it's wrong to sit here and act as if Mad Max is some incredibly dangerous and life-threatening hazard. If a driver is uncomfortable with the maneuvers or speed, they do not have to use it. However, it is no different from how many other cars travel on the road. It is far from an anomaly. Tesla FSD's new Mad Max mode is getting rave reviews from users. With that being said, it will be interesting to see if the NHTSA does anything about Mad Max, whether it will require Tesla to nerf the speed profile or remove it altogether. It's also important to note that this is my personal experience with Mad Max, and what I've experienced might differ from others. Source: reposted and summarized from Joey Klender at teslarati.